Welcome back, brother. Metamorphosis. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm just going to let this photo show a little bit why the beast is destroying the planet and also a tribute to Dr. Walter Williams. Let me open up the
Yes.
screen so we can see you once again. I'm just so glad to be here and to see you, that you have
Yes.
something coming good with a good word. Incrementally, we're building. And right now, it may not be brick and mortar, but we're building minds. Every time
Yeah.
you share something, it permeates the subconscious minds of our sisters and brothers and knocks away the other propaganda to heal us up. And healing is not something that's instantaneous, it takes time. Some faster, some slower, and some instantaneously when they have the propensity and that thing inside their DNA that says, hey, this is it. It clicks. So we want to click
Yes.
everybody's mind and get them into the right state of mind to absorb what you have to say. And I'm here as a student and one who's listening. And I'm just the plate, but you're the meal, brother. So how have you been in the last week since we saw you?
I've been great, Brother Lance. Thanks for the intro, as always, and greetings out there to everyone. Yeah, I've been good. I'm starting to grow. You're never too old to learn. And the more encounters I have out, out in the streets where I'm actually involved with the things I'm involved with now,
Right.
um, it's revealing a lot of things to me about not just Black culture, but all cultures within the American spectrum.
There you
And
go.
it's real deep because it's almost like you ever seen a movie where it seems like everybody else knows the secret except you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
you're looking at these people and you're thinking to yourself, something is going on that we are not aware of.
that's right.
And like a magician almost, like pulling a rabbit out of the hat. But yeah, brother, I'm always looking forward to being on this show. The energy works both ways. You guys give me strength. And as the topic is today, why the beast is destroying the planet. I also want to pay homage to a great one of our great Black scholars that was very instrumental in my growth process in terms of learning the truth about the world. And the fascinating thing about Professor Williams is that he broke down these time periods that actually where was when the energy of the world was switched based on the first encounters that we had with the invaders to our lands. Uh, a fascinating man. I'll just tell a little quick story. Um, I was working in the department, the chairman of our department at Clark Atlanta, Dr. Green, rest in power. And I used to keep his schedules of the students and that was in the programs and stuff like that. And so he used to keep about 10 books on his desk. And I don't know, for some reason, I guess it was meant to be now that I'm looking back. He had the book open to Dr. Walter Williams, but he had other books too. But that book, I just zeroed in on it. And at that time, I just loved reading. And so when he came back, I asked him if I could use the book. I wanted to study. I had never heard of him. And he said, yeah, absolutely. In fact, this was one of the books I was going to recommend to you. So at that time, I was living in the dorms, and we
Right.
used to have on Saturday nights, we would have book reviews, and everybody would come and do their book review. And so I spent the next 3 days reading about Dr. Walter Williams, and the rest is history. He was other than Dr. John Henry Clark, he was one of the most pivotal persons in my life that made me see things on a global level.
Right.
And he made me see that there was something done to our people that has been hidden from the world that even affects us here on the shores of Turtle Island. And we're going to pay homage to him today. In our introduction, we're going to go over one of his most profound books. We're just going to talk about it for a few minutes. How
Sure. Take it.
Europeans. Okay, brother, I cleared my calendar. Like I told you on Mondays, this is I can no longer be distracted by other things. So I revisited one of his books, How Europeans Created History. So today we're gonna delve into three very important subjects. One is the unnatural character of the beast, and that the planet is now responding to the beast's nature through hurricanes, heat, earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes. Also, we're going to look at this mental split that's in our physical experience. It's in the form of these politicians, trickings that are playing games with our people, as always, every 4 years. This schizoid behavior as a result of it, and the source of it, of course, is hate. And then, I like to use movies as an example because our people love movies, which is fine. We just need to produce more movies from our perspective. But the Wishmaster, one of my, I love horror, the Wishmaster effect and the counterfeit spirits that are here to collect. And then finally, we'll talk about AI versus the Netaru and the real reason why AI was created. So before I get into Walter Williams here, I'm learning too on my journey that the most important thing about when you're, giving information is that the people are able to comprehend it. Okay. It's not about how much knowledge you have, because it doesn't matter if people can't receive it. And I think too many times we get caught up into trying to show how much we know or whatever, and then we miss the point of why we are given this opportunity. Okay. Because as I often hear you say, Lance, one of the things that was taken from us and our character as natural beings on the planet is that servitude is the highest character that you can possess. So this has been flipped around in order to keep you off balance. Okay. So I said all that to say that I chose a script. Our people are looking, rightfully so, for some type of judgment or retribution or justice, however you want to look at it. But in this particular allegory, it kind of lays out exactly what's going on. The Creator's judgment on the wicked. And it comes from Revelation 16 and 16. And it says, and the demonic spirits gathered the kings at the place called Armageddon in Hebrew. Now that's very important. I want to read that again because, these are the counterfeit spirits that have always worked against our people. that are driving the beast-like behavior, okay, with people that now they want to destroy the planet because they don't want you to have it, which is rightfully yours. So I'm going to read that again. And the demonic spirits, or counterfeit spirits, as I like to call them, gathered the kings at the place called Armageddon in Hebrew. So they assembled them at the place called Armageddon in Hebrew. And I want to read another version of it as well from another narrative that they wrote. So they assembled them at the place called in Hebrew Armageddon. And then the evil spirits gathered the kings together again in the place called Armageddon in Hebrew. So I have a definition. In Hebrew, it was actually called the Hill of Megiddo. And this is Armageddon, and this is the place where the kings of the earth, and again, when they talk about kings, if you remember the feudalism system, I gave a graphic on a couple of our shows we did, where the people that are at the top, the kings, the landowners, the ones that are running the world, you call them the 1% or what have you. They now, again, we tend to think of things in a physical, although the physical manifestation is taking place as well. But here, I believe we're missing an important point because this is at the etheric realm. Okay, so the place where the kings of the earth under demonic leadership, and that's very important. And I like that it was phrased this way, because that's exactly what the beast and its system is. It's demonic leadership or counterfeit spirits that are leading the people who are in charge of the system we live under, the beast's system. And they're leading them, and they will wage war on the forces of what you know as God at the end of history. And as I often say, Lance, your birthday, the eclipse was the signal of the end of the beast system of hate. And, you know, a lot of times, again, because we don't, nature's our greatest teacher, but that's something that's been taken away from our people, where we don't look at nature and then read the signs like our great ancestors did. And now we're going to go back and pay tribute to Professor Walter Williams. One of the things that he said that caused me to really, really dig deep and research is he said that the Medu was never really interpreted, as they try to say, in Demotic, and that Champollion and what's his name, Thomas Young, never, and when he said this, I immediately understood what he meant, because I often used to say myself, and I've heard others say, that it's not, so the spirit of the law and the letter of the law are two separate things. And so because they were not able to decipher the spiritual aspect of what they call the sacred writings, that our people call the language of the creator, or a moon, then they were not able to crack this code, and therefore they put out a plagiarized interpretation that they call hieroglyphics. So, as I said earlier in the beginning, that the one thing that Dr. Walter Williams did for us is he broke down the geopolitical and cultural aspect of history during this pivotal time in world history. And we're going to go into this because he laid this out for us along with Dr. John Henry Clark, but Walter Williams went into aspects of it that really opened our eyes to this deliberate illusion and deception that was created to put our people in the condition that they're in now. And this 332 BC is the most important date in the history of the world. I'm going to say that again. I know people may debate with me about this. That's fine. Okay. There are, as I often say, there are several ways of looking at truth. Okay. But when you look at, you cannot deny what the documents of history that's been verified by several sources say. That when Alexander came into Egypt in 332 BC, this was the beginning of European history. And when they encountered our people, according to Dr. Walter Williams, in 332 BC, that this is when they begin to look at, and even to this day, the same thing is done, where you're interpreting things from a spiritual aspect naturally, but then your mind has been deceived to a point where you look at things in a 90-degree angle. And you know, we'll talk about how that was done. But he also said that history must have 5 components or ingredients. One is time. We know from Dr. John Henry Clark that time and history, they're intertwined because it tells where a people has been and, more importantly, where they're going. But he said that time, people, places, events, and literature was very, very important to this whole aspect of history. But this date, 332 BC, is very, very important in the history of the world. So several things happened at this point. But I just want to point out something that he said as well that I've since found over the years to be true. That literature is used to document these components, and the ancient Egyptians created the first alphabet and were the only literate people on the planet at that time in antiquity. And that the only institutions that existed was in Kemet. Now, I remember back when this was very controversial, okay? And at the time when he actually wrote this and brought this out, he was in a similar situation with Dr. Shank Anti-Diop was in when they tried to shut him down. Well, they did shut down his work until Dr. Clark brought it forth and proved, you know, from carbon dating that what they were putting forth was true, okay, about the ancient Egyptians. But what was interesting, I remember even our own Black scholars begin to challenge Professor Williams about this. But the thing about him is he always had the receipts. And so, and when he started talking about how when the Greeks encountered our Melkite Coptic priests in 332 BC, there was a lot of like conflict going on because our priests would not, they wanted to be worshiped. Well, first of all, after they had learned what they learned, they wanted to now be worshiped as gods themselves. And this was the first time that I had ever heard this term soter, which means savior. And again, our people have to comprehend this, is that because someone has given you a narrative, it does not mean that that is the actual origin of the meaning of that. Okay. We have got to get out of that. A lot of these things that you know are not literal. Okay. And all you have to do is take a little time to research it. Some of our greatest scholars, and when they go on, and do what they're continuing to do and their influence on us, we have to look at their body of work because it was left here for a purpose. And too many times we're busy following after other people that look a certain way when we have already been left our scripts. Okay. The other thing that he said, that our ancestors put the alphabet into the Greek language and created it. Okay, which again, I've since found to be true. And at the time, I can remember there was a big debate over if what he was saying was true. And like I said, even amongst our academia or intelligentsia of academics during that time. But the other thing that happened too was that when the Romans came in, now this is a very critical, we know the things that Alexander did, okay, and how he plundered, a lot of the information so that that this information would not get out to the world. We know that. But so what happened was when the Romans came in, okay, after Alexander, and with Roman Catholicism, which also was a part of the Italian language at that time, which the Etruscans, the original Black Italians, had another language, but they began to turn and change it, like always, and it grafted into Latin. And then we know that English came out of Latin. So 302 years later, when the Romans came in, the ancient Egyptians did not, well, let's jump back. I jumped ahead of myself. Okay, so the ancient Egyptians did not allow the Greeks to enter into their sacred system until 323 BCE. And as I was saying, this was a conflict with the priests because they were not going to worship them. Again, we're dealing with people that's always had a God complex because of the lack of spiritual and natural connection. And so they begin to slaughter some of our priests, okay? And this is what happened, because when they finally realized, and this is when Alexander died, the Ptolemies came in, okay? Ptolemy I, and this is the one I was telling you that was known as Soter, or Savior. And see, our people have been told that this word Savior means something other than what it actually means. Okay. So in Memphis, Egypt, in the temple in Memphis, Egypt, once Ptolemy I took over Egypt, and he said, okay, well, if you're not going to worship me, then we're going to take your number one deity, Osiris, and we're going to take Apis, the bull, that was a deity from their culture, and they created Osiris, or what we know as Serapis, okay? And I did a video with Lance on that once, where Serapis was actually the individual that you worship today, that has come down through this process. And this is the beginning of it. So what Ptolemy I did was he was like, okay, So what we're going to do is we're going to create an image, okay? And like Dr. Williams was saying, that he was the vicar of Rome, okay? Because just like the Pope was the vicar or the representation of God or the Creator, this is what in the Vatican, this is what this image Serapis was formed by, according to Dr. Williams, who you worship today as Jesus the Christ. Okay, so I'm gonna say that again because our people get a little, conflicted with when we deal with truth. And I understand, and I comprehend. I'm not here today to try to put anybody down. I'm just saying that the time has come where we have to deal with truth. And we're going to talk about our subject today in a minute after we finish our tribute to Dr. Walter Williams, a brilliant man who left us a great landscape to look at. Yeah, and so when we look at what he taught us about the geopolitical landscape that also changed world history, we're going to look at why now this global destruction is going on. And we already talked about what is behind the scenes, the hidden hands, the counterfeit spirits, demonic, whatever you want to call them, evil, are drawing these people who use fiat on us to control us, is drawing them into this valley, into this vortex. And we see it playing out right now. Okay, so in 320 BC, then Ptolemy one said, okay, well, if you're not going to put me in your, worship me in your temples, okay, then we're going to use this image, Serapis, and you're going to bow down to that. And I am the representative of this image. You see what I'm saying? But again, our people do not want to look at truth when it comes to this. Also, the ancient Egyptians refused to worship this image, you see. The same thing with the Council of Nicaea, okay? When our people went against this, the worship of this deity that was created, okay? But it got to a point where our people refused to worship this image. And so they started, putting people in jail. And see, the ancient Egyptians and our people had never had any jails. They didn't have to have a reason for any jails or prisons. And so this is where this first started, okay? When they started incarcerating our people because we wouldn't bow down to this image. You see, this is deeper than what we know, because all we know is what's been taught to us on plantations here in America. And, this is what I love so much about Dr. Williams and, what he left us. Unfortunately, our children don't know about our scholars that have given their lives to teach us truth. But most of that, the majority of that is our fault. And so, there's, again, I don't want to sound like I'm slamming anybody. There are a lot of platforms, I guess I'm biased towards the Landscape platform, but there are a lot of platforms that are now addressing certain things that need to be addressed when it comes to our people. We can no longer turn a blind eye, because now the beast is confronting us and our children head on. Okay. And in case you didn't know, you have a natural enemy, whether you want to accept that or not. Okay. And this is based on universal laws, the law of polarity. Okay. So let's go back into, and this is the last part of what Dr. Walter Williams left us. And you know, again, I have to give homage to these brothers that sacrificed so much against. And see, during the time when he was doing this, what we forget is many of them did this under threat of death. Okay. And this is where I have an issue with our people, where we have had all of our ancestors have sacrificed their lives. Your parents, everybody you know in your family, okay, your grandparents, you can go back as far as you want. But yet somehow you think that this fiat is greater, okay, than the natural gift that was given to us by the creator spirit. And this is why so many of us are going to go down with this system. You know, every time I say that, I cringe, but it is a reality that I know now. Unfortunately, our people are continuing to go down this road, and we'll just see what's going to happen as a result. Let's just put it that way. But there were 14 Ptolemies, according to Professor Walter Williams, that from 332 BC to 30 BC, when the Romans took over Egypt from the Ptolemies, I believe it was like 1600 years. But now you see the rise of the Byzantine Empire from 30 BC to 1300. Now this part of history that Dr. Williams left us is so very critical to the comprehension of the global issues that we're talking about today, and also what I read, the script I read earlier about Revelation 16:16, and why this was established this way in the geopolitical environment that, or the global shift, geographical and political shift took place during this time. So the Byzantine Empire from 30 BC to 1300. Now we're looking at the creation, I'm not the creation, but we're looking at Egypt, Syria, Turkey. Okay. Now, this is why you know that this was a deliberate sit down, let's create maps, let's do this, is because from Dr. Williams, we have the geography and the maps of these lands, and you know why they were shifted around. Okay, so Lebanon was created in 1922, believe it or not. Jordan was created in 1929. See, you've been taught to see these lands or these names of these countries as you know, the modern, that they were in antiquity. No, they were not, and we're going to show you, according to the work of Dr. Walter Williams, that they were not. Iran was created in 1920. And then you had, when you go back a little further, then you're looking at Yemen, Palestine, and Arabia. And then we're looking at the North African countries along the Mediterranean, which is Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, and all these areas that I just mentioned to you, these countries that they have been shifted around, the counterfeit spirit shifts around. This is Northeast Africa, okay? But they created this area. We all know that the Suez Canal was created mainly for a purpose. Okay, that's a subject for another day. But now we're shifting to when Europe, okay, began to emerge, okay, or Western Asia, whatever you want to call it. And the primary thrust from Europe originally, one of the earliest areas came from the Balkan area, okay, because we know Germany is more ancient. But we're looking at Albania, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Romania, southern part of Russia, and then we're looking at when they crossed the Mediterranean into North Africa. And the southern part of Russia is Armenia, is what I meant to say. But when we see now, when the Turks took over this territory, or the Ottoman Turks in the 1300s or the 14th century, they're actually from Afghanistan and Iran and Pakistan. And this is Northeast Africa, okay? So these people can play these games all they want. We know what the geopolitical landscape was in antiquity, okay? And this was very important, and Professor Williams did a marvelous job with what we were taught and how he was able to tie this into history with the information that he obtained during the decades of his research. So again, today when you look at that landscape, not knowing this history, then you have people telling you another narrative that is totally false. Okay, totally. And this is why you have all of these conflicts now. And the last thing about that is the Moors and the ancient Africans are the same. Okay, so, when things are split up, and that's why one of the reasons why they did that was because they didn't want you to see them, because you cannot cut out the Moors' history, okay, in Europe and in Spain, 800 years. You cannot. So you have to try, like everything else, to cut out African history from that history, which if anybody else, even Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles can look and see, okay, the identity of these people. And finally, the Ottoman Empire actually lasted all the way until World War I. And when we see that when the British toppled the Ottoman Empire in 1918, and it's again when we start to see a shift, in the world. And then we begin to see a lot of the narratives that were written about this history that actually took us away from real history. And we begin to see the whitewashing of history. But, and finally, the Nile Valley civilization.
Welcome back.
Huh?
Oh, no, I was multitasking. That was just my voice on tape. Don't worry about it. You're good.
Okay. The Nile Valley civilization in antiquity, the original source of this, was in Ethiopia, which was known as Abyssinia, Sudan, which was known in ancient times as Nubia, and ancient Egypt, which is Kemet. So tribute to our brother, Dr. Professor Walter Williams, Thank you, brother. Rest in power. And, those of us who benefited from, you being here on the planet, we are very grateful, humbled that this man actually, in the face of the beast, was able to carve out the true geopolitical landscape of the globe. So let's get into the subject today: why the beast is destroying the planet. Again, we have to go back to the foundation of this, okay? We have to go back to the foundation of why, and again, you have a natural enemy, okay? So you can play with this any kind of way you want. That's fine. I'm not here today to debate that. But because of the unnatural character or the inability to connect with nature, then the beast created a system that basically was an all-out attack on nature. Okay. And this included the destruction of the planet, which we see happening now. Okay. It's almost like when you're a kid and you're playing marbles and you lose marbles and you take all your marbles and go home. Or you're out playing basketball and you lose and then you get mad and you take your ball and go home. So at the end of the day, you have to know who you are, okay? And because you are connected, even though psychologically you're under the spell of fiat, your etheric spirit is still connected to nature. And this is why we have so many conflicts in our community, because our people refuse to embrace who we are. So this is what, before I go on, this is the point I want to make about this. How is it that other people are so comfortable writing narratives about you, but yet you are uncomfortable embracing who you are? That has always been a mystery to me. I understand why. Because so one of the things that happens in this system is you're penalized for speaking truth, which is if you're in America, it's your First Amendment right, freedom of speech. If you're, but you don't even have to be in America. You're a human, Article 19, just the fact that you're a human being on the planet, you have the right to speak. So this is why the beast suppresses this, is because ever since the eclipse, Lance's birthday, they knew that it was over. They knew this. This was the creator saying, okay, you better run, find a hole somewhere, run to hide in some mountains or caves, because it's happening now. And we're the only ones that can't read these signs. It's almost like not almost, it is some form of sorcery. It has to be. But what's going on now, where you see this destruction of people, and I want to ask the question, I often hear people here in America talk about faith and belief and, all of these things attached to the religious jargon. But what do we see playing out in front of our eyes? See, this is what I'm talking about. Now, you're dealing with a system that has never repented for what has been done globally to our people. But yet, you want our people to go to church every Sunday, to believe in a God that you believe in when we are catching hell, our young men are being hung in trees again. We know the history of this, all of these things, but I don't hear anyone attached to the beast system speaking out against this. So at the end of the day, we know that these manifestations now that are right in our face, that we have to speak out against this. We cannot stand idly by and allow this to happen. We cannot, okay? Because we don't have the spirit of fear, okay? We don't have that spirit. And our people are under tremendous threat all of the time. All of the time. And why is that? Because the beast knows who you are. And that's why they're being drawn to this valley, not only physically, but spiritually and psychologically. That's why you see all this degraded behavior. But again, it's being because of one, I shouldn't say one. Well, because of the multitudes of our people that went on this mountaintop and bowed down to this entity, okay? And now the wishmaster is coming back to collect, okay? Because that's who you really bow down to. Coming back to collect. But I heard Dr. Amos Wilson say one time, rest in power, that do you think the people that have spent millennia changing world history and keeping you in the condition you're in, why do you think that that's going to change when obviously, nothing, if anything, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just different players. Okay. So at the end of the day, what is happening now is you see this full-fledged response from nature, the Neteru, through hurricanes, through the sun, through earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes. But you don't see nature this way, do you? Okay. So here's what, and this was something that I was fighting against. This cannot be true. This cannot be true. I remember the old people used to say that judgment is going to begin in the house of the Lord first. And you know what? Black folks are going to be the ones that, let me put it this way. The ones that are still attached to the beast system, because all of us are in it. When I say attached, I'm talking about psychologically and physically, like all these things they got you doing on tape. When you are attached to this, you're going down with them. You're going down first because you don't know who you are and what your purpose on this planet is. But the wishmaster getting ready to show you. Your natural enemy is getting ready to show you. And then this whole war on that physical level we see, but these counterfeit spirits got them now fighting. And now in our psychological world here with our people, and they're going to parade you before the world. Oh, and I know what I wanted to say about Dr. Amos Wilson. He was saying that how could you do a study about Black men being the source of violence in America. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. But this is what they have made the world think. Okay. The same thing with what's going on, what we see paraded before our eyes now. They have made you the scourge of the earth. And so now they can use the soter, or the savior image, to put before you and say, aha, I'm more righteous than you. When in actuality, the beast created these conditions that you love so much, that you're killing each other over. And all of this is a part of this. All of what you're seeing happening on a global scale, you're a part of that, whether you believe it or not. You are. Okay, let's go to the next aspect of why the beast is destroying the planet. So we have to, and again, we're looking at everything from a natural and unnatural perspective, because that is the real war. But you see this mental split, this schizoid behavior due to hate, you see, because this is the counterfeit spirit to Murray, or which you know as love. We see this hate and this energy associated with it as an unnatural force. Okay, again, all you have to do is think a little bit that and I'm going to use the terminology that our people are familiar with. Would a God create creatures and then destroy them because they are not worshiping a man-made religion? We have to start thinking, okay? This is insanity. But yet I'll get an email with somebody condemning me when the very beasts that have put you in this situation refuse to repent. In fact, I heard one of them say the other day, we'll never apologize for slavery, and we'll never pay reparations. I heard that. I'm not shocked or surprised. I'm shocked at our people, because we continue to allow people to treat us like children based on your I ain't even gonna say that. But anyway, this mental split, or this schizoid behavior that we exhibit, is mainly due to the hate coming from these counterfeit spirits towards us. It can come in the form of code words. It can come in the form of you being treated a certain way. It can come in the form of denying you access to certain things. It can come in a plethora of forms. Okay, but we know that this is hate. So this is where the schism comes in at, because you're being told every Sunday and Wednesday, or however many times you go, when they read these scripts to you, that somebody loves you when they actually hate you. And you might not want to say that, but I'm saying it. Okay. So you need to get your head out of the sand. Okay. Because now you're teaching our children these same lies that have you under a strong delusion. And that is what the real issue is with our people. When you know that this hate is directed. In fact, not only that, they teach people that come from other countries to hate you. You know, and that's the most coldest part about it. But yet our people don't want to, you know, I guarantee you they're going to continue to battle. What other people do you see them parading on their fake news that are beefing and battling against each other all the time? When music is supposed to be the, other than art, the most, well, along with art, okay, the most uplifting experience that we have, okay, because sound shapes the world. All you gotta do is study cymatics and see that. When you get to 963 hertz, the God frequency, we see this. And we know that they have tuned the music to 440 hertz against you. Look at all of our young men. Look at how their lives have turned out because of this. Or you'll enjoy the pleasures for a while. They'll give you as much fiat as you want. But you're limited at what you can do with it. Try to buy a corporation or try to start one and see what happens. So this is why you need groups of people doing things together, not what you've been taught, pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you don't even have no damn boots. Okay, and I ain't talking about how many cars or, how much fiat I'm not talking about that. Okay, this is where probably the biggest deception that the beast has played on our people. Okay. And then you have to look at AI versus the Netaru. And the real reason why AI was created, okay, was, well, that's for another time. I won't go into that because it's kind of deep because, again, we benefit from AI. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the etheric aspect of this. I'm not talking about you Googling stuff and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. So I'm going to leave that for another time. But well, at the end of the day, the real reason why the beast now is destroying the planet is because all of this hidden knowledge, all of this hidden evidence, receipts, facts, whatever label you want to give it, is now that vortex has been opened based on the eclipse, and it can't be shut. It can't be shut. Remember when your people used to tell us, our people used to tell us that, that the Creator can open a door that no man can shut? This is what they're talking about right now. So we have to begin to look at reality. We can no longer afford to live by narratives. Every time you watch TV now, all you see is the destruction of the planet. Blowing up, missiles, everything up. This warmonger mentality. You can't even. So I'll use a song to prove to you why there'll never be any peace. And there was one of our great groups that left this song for us, that there will never be any peace until God is seated at the conference table. And when they talk about God, they're talking about you. Okay. So you can let people tell you whatever you want. But until you're seated at the conference table, we're going to have. So that's why whenever you turn on one of these devices, particularly the fake news, they'll show you all of these bombings, and they'll show you how they're just destroying the planet with no regard for the lives of people, with no regards to nothing. But this is not your planet to destroy. And so this is why they tell you about some place in heaven, whereas this is our planet, okay? Okay. This is it right here. and these wicked people that are trying to destroy it, it's not going to happen. So you can try to keep people living in fear all you want. There's a bigger thing coming, put it that way, okay, beyond your control. So with that, Brother Lance, I think I'll end today. I don't want to just keep rambling. But you know, at the end of the day, it's going. We're living in a time right now where, and this is a result of them, you know, stifling our people for so long, is that we're starving for attention, and this is what's getting us in trouble. You know, stop telling people everything you're doing. Stop it. Okay. And stop trying to bring down your other brothers and sisters simply because they have a different opinion than yours. See, all of these ways in which we were taught, we were taught by counterfeit spirits. That's who you were taught by, or unnatural spirits. Okay, and because you were taught by that, then it's very difficult. It's almost like you're betraying yourself. That's the feeling you get. That's how deep these archetypes are in the minds of subconscious minds of Black folks, and our children too. Yeah, so whenever you talk about something other than what you have been taught, and rather than expanding your mind to comprehend this, you've been taught to fight against it. Okay. So you can learn something from a crackhead. You can learn something from somebody living on the street. You can learn. One of the biggest misnomers is that people who do not have academic training is somehow intellectually inferior to you. No, actually, they have the natural knowledge because they have not been damaged, indoctrinated. Okay. So we have to stop putting so much emphasis. The other thing too is that they do to our Black men, because Black men don't go to college in the at the level that our sisters do. So what they do is they tell our sisters and they make them believe that a hardworking Black man that has his own business, I don't care if it's picking up trash, is below or inferior to somebody that has a college degree. That is insane. And see, this is what you've been taught. Okay. And that is not true. Okay. In fact, I dare to say, and let me clarify something before I go on. This is not to put down anyone who spent time and sacrifice to obtain an education. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that we have to understand and comprehend the difference between natural gifts or your natural intelligence quotient and this IQ that you get from educated indoctrination, okay, for lack of a better word. And so this is something that keeps us from moving forward as well. And I researched this amongst other cultures too. Although it exists amongst them, The one thing that they don't do is they do not destroy people in their culture because they're at different academic levels. And that was very interesting to me. And I thought to myself, why is it that Black people, and I know the answer to this, the Boule effect. Okay, and you can go all the way back to the plantation. We're not going to talk about that, but with the house nigger, field nigger syndrome. But this head nigga in charge thing also has a lot to do with it, and all of these things. But one of the things that was fascinating to me when I began to look at this particular aspect in other cultures is, yes, they celebrate each other's academic achievements, but they don't put down the other people from their culture who have not achieved that. In fact, they try to support, not try, they do support the ones that have, businesses, trucks, or whatever they have in different areas, which was a fascinating thing to me, because what they do with educated Black folks is they say, oh, you're a part of this class, and so you are above them. Okay, so they have no, you have no use for them. And see, this beast system have taught you that. You have no use for them, or they are inferior to you, when that person could be holding the key to you moving to your butterfly state. And my concern is, and as I think about Professor Williams, my concern is that the way that our people are educated, and Dr. Walter Williams was looked at as really an academic rebel, because he refused to go along with the status quo. And again, like I said, from some of our own people. But now, as the years went on, in hindsight, they begin to see how valuable this body of work he left us is. Okay. But of course, we know we're not going to teach our children about Dr. Walter Williams, for that matter. It's just going to be another brother that sacrificed his life. That, the history books they're going to close the book on him, and they're going to scrub his work from Google, where you get all your information from. I guarantee you that. Because, see, we need to preserve this information. Why? Because the younger generations need to know this. So you can continue to party and do all the things you do. And again, there's nothing wrong with partying, okay? You can do whatever you feel like you deserve it, but you have to start using having some type of discipline when it comes to how far we go with things, where you just let things get to a point of a freak off, and that's your definition of our quality of life. And it's a problem. It's a serious problem. So moving forward, there is going to continue to be this destruction of the planet, but it's also getting ready to get shut down. Okay. And so while they have you in this false flag cycle, where now everybody is consumed about, what they're consumed about, then we can't concentrate, because it's nothing going to change locally for Black folks, wherever you are, until you do it. Because these other cultures, they demand stuff. I see them all the time. Yeah, they get out in groups and they demand, they picket, they do whatever it takes to get their issue on the forefront. in the forefront. But then, they tell us, oh, why are they protesting, or why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? But yet, when other people protest, when they put it on the news, they glorify it. They're standing up for their rights. They're, and this is a game that the beast system plays. It puts one against the other, the Hegelian dialectic, and they're behind the scenes on both sides, So, Brother Lance, I'm going to end the show.
Yes.
I got a lot of things to do this evening.
Yes, indeed. I'm not going to hold you up like I did last week. I'm just going to say that this is the longest part of the week. As soon as we end it, we have to wait a long time to come back on.
I feel you, brother. This it's always great, man, to share with you and share with your successes, because again, when you succeed, I succeed. That's how we should look at it.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, we're looking at, oh, look, that nigga think that he, and it's just unfortunate, man, that at this point in 2024, with all that our people have been through, that we still have this childlike mentality, or the caterpillar mentality. And it definitely prevents us from, looking at the bigger picture. And more importantly, it prevents us from working together.
Oh, let me tell you. Oh, I'm gonna do a show just on what you said, brother, because let me just say it this way. I've experienced, this is only going to take 60 seconds. I've experienced people leaving America, coming all the way here to the motherland, and just as niggerish. I'm sorry, I gotta say it. Hateful, envious, jealous. Will stand up in front of your house, point up at your house, angry at the progress that you're making, and they don't even know you.
Wait a minute. You saying people from America coming to Ghana?
Yeah, who claim righteousness and who claim we must stick together and we must do this.
Oh, I see.
Through the word of someone else who may dislike me, get others who don't know me, don't know my walk. Transferable hate. I just had to say that. I stood up today, and this has been going on. Who that nigga think he is?
Yeah.
Look what he's doing. He think he all that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, brother, because I feel that visceral, it's so crazy. But that those of us who are trying to do something righteously to uplift our people are attacked the most.
Oh, man. And you know what? I don't even claim to be this or claim to be that. I just do what I do.
Right.
I have no time to
same here, man.
About people, to hate on people. Look, I do so much more other than this stuff online, and I do this a lot, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
This is my get high. This is my labor of love. This is my reward. But you should see how dirty I get around here. I'm living in a construction site, slowly but surely. But I just don't understand. I'm not seeing everybody. But don't think that you're going to leave the West and come here and turn new. Too many people, I've said it before, they leave an apartment or they leave a house that they're so glad to leave because they're infested with roaches in that place. They find a new place that has no roaches. So they pack their boxes and their bags and their clothes, and they move to the new place and feel so happy that there are no roaches. But 3 days later, they see one crawling across the wall and they get mad at the establishment. They get mad at the builder. No, they didn't do it. You brought the roaches with you. So you
Yeah.
have so many people who think that you can put on a dashiki, an ankh,
Oh my God.
or
And yeah.
change your name. That's like putting on clean clothes after not washing for 3 weeks. You might
Yes.
look good from across the street, but brother, when you get close to give me a hug, I might smell a little something. There's a lot of that. In that
Mm-hmm.
respect, they're good people, but there's a lot. But some things take the cake. So how could you feel good about yourself when you're in such a infantile mentality? And even infants don't even act like that. That you become so encrusted in your envy. I'm not a millionaire. I and Mrs. Scurv sacrificed and are
Mm-hmm.
sacrificed. It
Mm-hmm.
is not been easy. So how are you gonna hate on somebody because of somebody else? That's the mark of a punk. When you a man, you deal straight up direct. Brother Neil, I will defend you in any word you give me because I know your character. But to people I don't know, I'm not gonna go off of the word of a person I don't know and get mad at somebody else.
That's
Can't-
crazy.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you a little more about that, but
Okay.
I mean, furious, not even just sly, mad, pointing and shaking. Hey, look what he's doing, and he did that. Secondhand, and you wonder why I stay away from you.
Yeah. Hey,
See,
I'm staying as far away from you as I possibly can.
daggone right.
There's no way that I'm
Identify
gonna
these
allow.
spirits.
Well, yeah, brother, but yeah, keep
How
up
many
the
you got to
great
do, brother?
work, brother Lance. Look, man,
Yes.
you are someone that I can actually say, if I didn't know, my the quality of my life would not be as great as it is now. I can honestly say that without shame. And the people that are being driven by these counterfeit spirits against you, it's nothing going to come about that, because you're not the type of person that engages in that energy. And that's the same reason why they can't get to me. Like, oh, I told you I came off of social media.
Yeah.
I was getting so many crazy responses to stuff, and people trying to get information from me, and all this stuff was
Yes.
going on. I said, I got to step back from this for a minute, because the visceral, again, from our own people, I can tell the difference between someone from another culture and our people.
Yeah.
Because our people have like almost like a juvenile type of jealousy
Yes.
against each other, and
Competitive,
it's petty. Yeah, that's the best word.
petty and
Petty.
competitive. Yeah.
And it's something hard to kind of deal with, because it throws you off, even though you know that it's there. It's still, you never really get used to it.
You can't.
You know,
It's not natural.
it's
It's a
not
graft.
natural.
It's a
Yeah.
spiritual grafting with demonic energy.
Yes.
And those types will never ascend from that because they have the mentality that they know they're on fire, but they're pouring gasoline on themselves, thinking they can put out the fire. You know?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
know
It's
they're on
frightening.
fire, but you
Look,
got to be
look,
crazy.
I'm here.
You're gonna go near a gas pump and you on fire.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Listen, I had two good co-workers slash friends
Uh-huh.
pass away within the last 2 weeks. The one that I
Wow.
found today was a big shocker, and the other one was a big shocker. What I'm
Mm.
saying is that they live pristine lives. I can say that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing with these entities who piddle away their time with the gossip and the envy and the watching and the peeping and the false accusations. Do you know what time you're leaving up out of here? I want to make sure but all of my time has been accounted for, even my downtime, which I don't really have much because my brain is always thinking on so many
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
So,
And
how are
these
you
are
going
men
to,
and women. These are men and women.
the funny thing is, it's some women, but it's mostly the men.
It's more men.
More men like this out here. More American and Caribbean men out here like this
Black
with that
men.
black men. Yes. You know I'm going to tell it like it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
Wow.
my God. It is bad. It is bad. And the
Yeah, do
amount
a
of
show on it, man. Do a show on it. I'd
yeah,
like to hear more about that for sure.
yeah, yeah. There are more organizations that are against other organizations, cliques, people that look successful. They have businesses and have money flowing in and they talk the
Right.
right, but a lot of them, the egos, the wanting to be the one to usher in the wave of people coming in, and I am the one, and I will help you. They'll say they're helping you, but it's an ego stroke as a
Yes.
one upmanship over the next brother or sister.
Yes.
And
Absolutely 100%.
so, in actuality, I've been a hermit. I used to run around with the camera and hook people up.
I
Now
know.
I'm
I
a
remember.
shadow. No, but I'm breaking out of that in a big way, but in a different way. Now that I've
Yeah.
marked territory and can see, oh, I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole new wing of stuff coming from over here.
Yeah.
These spirits are not going to stop me from doing what I'm destined to do, what I'm here to do. And
Absolutely not. Now that I am assured of. They're definitely not going to stop you. But brother
you know,
Les, I got to get out of here, brother.
yeah, your conversation is an addiction. So listen, hit me up during the week sometime, and we
Okay.
will talk. I got some stuff to you. I got some good news to tell you. Um,
Okay.
okay, so do that.
Okay. All right, brother.
E-
Thanks
Even
again.
still, if you can call me within the next 15 minutes, call me. And I'm gonna tell you real quick, and I'm gonna let you hang up. I'm gonna just tell you something for 5 seconds, and it's
Okay.
good news. And yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna do our thing.
Okay, brother. I'll call
Okay.
you.
Okay. Cool.
All
All
right.
right. Peace. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let me see here. I always speak a little bit after we do our show. That was a piece of a private conversation, kind of public, and I really don't care if anybody. There's nobody here now, right? I don't care who listens to it and gets that. Well, he must be talking about us. I say what I want to say. I'm a grown man. You know what I mean? Um, it's crazy. Exactly. The whole planet is ours, and this is why, Sister Yolanda, you get into the petty fights about who is who and what part. The whole. I mean, okay. I'm just going to say Africa, meaning black people. We know it's our Kebulon. Even before the names, the whole planet. I'm just going to say it this way: the whole planet is Africa. Symbolically, now I know the name came from a white man, right? Meaning that we're the original, we're the caretakers of the planet. We're here. We belong here. We were here first, and we are the real. We're not knockoffs. We're not humankind. We're human. HUE-MAN, and that includes women. So men don't get too hyped up. Oh, no. We, the chicken or the egg, we came out of the woman. We didn't just pop up and a woman come out of us. You see? Womb man. And this is our home, like the womb. It feeds us and protects us and nurtures us. That's what I always say. You know? Yeah, I'll stay for a minute until he calls. And there's some very good news. I'm very happy. I can't say it publicly right now, but it's phenomenal. And, I knew it was coming, but I know now the exact time. And it's an achievement. It really is. And it lets me know I'm where I'm supposed to be. You know, sometimes we make a journey and the road gets foggy. Sometimes we can't see the signs. Sometimes there are not enough signs, and we say, "Oh, we haven't seen a sign going to where we're going. Let's hope we're still on the right road." And then you see the sign and say, "Okay, we're on the right path." And with all the protection I've had over my life, I realize that I'm not saying I'm some chosen, like, like I'm not saying I'm some special dude over anybody, but what I'm to do, I'm chosen to do. And that's what we all have to know, that whether we know it or not, we're chosen for a task. And like the analogy that I always use, we're all tools in the toolbox. And sometimes there's some tools that get used more. We have the hammer, the screwdriver, right? The hammer always gets used, the screwdriver always gets used. So there are other tools in the box that say, hey, am I not worthy? But yes, you are. You might be more of a special tool for a specialized task that's not too common. So when you don't reach where you know you're supposed to reach right away, it may not be on your time. But when you're called to do what you do where the other tools couldn't do it. If you're an electric, they have the meters that you stick in the socket to see if there's a current and how much of a charge it is. A hammer can't do that. A screwdriver can't do that. So when we see other people ascend and go on and achieve, it's not envy from your part, but as humans, we tend to, compare ourselves. Wow, I'm happy for you, but it's happening with me. You see? So thank you, Reese. Thank you. So when that time comes, you forget all of the frustration of realizing if you were chosen for the task that you know you were chosen for. Okay, this is Brother Neil right here, y'all. I'm gonna get ready to go. Wow. Brother Neil Frazier, Metamorphosis. Let me just tell, I was rapping a little bit extra. Let me just tell them I'm gonna come on live in a little while on the back porch. No, but stay, Neil. Stay, don't go nowhere. And I'm gonna go just rap a little bit like I am and continue on, family. I should have been off, but let me just wrap this up now. And we will talk in a little while. Before I go to sleep, I'm gonna come on. Much love to you all. I will talk to you shortly.